Did you guys see that we cursed both Cespedes and Ohtani? Literally last week we were like, here are a couple of things that are already good. And then it was like, nope. It didn't even last a week. Somebody check on Daniel Bard. I'm Hannah Kaiser, and this is The Bandwagon. Last week, we attempted to hedge our bets against the possibility that the entire MLB season would come crashing down between when we taped the episode and when it aired. That episode, which was filmed in the middle of the Marlins outbreak, already feels like a throwback to a simpler time and stands as a testament to the fact that things can still get much worse. But I am running out of cute conceits for repackaging that depressing sentiment, and so it. We're bandwagoning the Blue Jays, the Buffalo Blue Jays, who do not, as far as I can tell, have any specific hats dedicated to these strange circumstances that will force them to play a couple dozen home games in their AAA stadium this summer. And look, I get it. I plan to burn anything that reminds me of 2020 as soon as there's a vaccine. But also I love niche merch, and the existing legacy of Bison's memorabilia is a rich text from which to draw inspiration, nightmares, or a Rorschach test. What do you think? Beta fish? Disembodied Addams Family hand? Whatever. If you feel like you sometimes forget about the Blue Jays, well, so did MLB. Since Canada decided to try this different thing where they actually try to get the pandemic under control by imposing strict protocols and then also applying those same protocols to jocks, the team had to find a new home for 2020, and they did not do that in time. Way to bank on the expectation of special treatment, boys. Fortunately, the Nationals were nice enough to play the Canadian anthem for a few games to give everyone a chance to scramble for a solution. Which brings us to Buffalo. For their part, the Blue Jays players have basically no interest in ending their apocalyptic road trip around pandemic land back at a AAA park with a couple extra LED lights jury-rigged outside, but the city seems super psyched to have them. Buffalo has been pining for a big league club since it tried and failed to land one of the expansion teams that ended up in Denver and Miami 27 years ago. And now, in a cruel twist of fate that would feel heavy-handed in a Gabriel Garcia Marquez novel, obviously love in the time of coronavirus, the citizens won't even get to go to any of the major league games going on in their midst. But still, we wanted to give them a rooting primer on the suddenly stateside team that they'll be hosting starting August 11th. Fortunately, the infield is full of needs-no introduction types who are barely out of Buffalo anyway. For a team that we never actually officially bandwagoned last year, I spend an awful lot of time talking about the beautiful head of hair playing shortstop, and so even though, yes, I am well aware of the Twitter trend, I'll be making no Bichette meme jokes. Okay, fine. Maybe just one more. Right around the time that baseball introduced rules banning anyone not on staff from the ballpark, the Blue Jays hired Dante Bichette, Bo's dad, to be a non-specific major league coach. Dad Don't Go Bichette said that he put his ego aside to okay the hiring. Seems to be working out well thus far. Also, they have Vlad Jr. First, a famously small child son, and then a famously large, almost adult son, is now a notably larger and ever so slightly more adult son. He's actually gotten off to a really slow start this season, but I'm confident he will be destroying any ball he makes contact with very soon. Dominant pitching potential, meanwhile, is not actually particularly funny, and as a species, we've become entirely too jaded to just how cool it is that anyone ever throws anything 100 miles an hour. But try to remember what it was like when we all still had the capacity for hope, and consider that Nate Pearson had a really promising debut in the Blue Jays fake home opener in DC. Check out the exact moment that fellow top prospect Carter Kaboom realizes that after a lifetime of being better than everyone else, he's suddenly surrounded by all the other kids who were also the greatest baseball player their town had ever seen. Yeah, I know. Precocity is a hell of a cliff to come down from. The Blue Jays boosted their chance at being the third most relevant team in their division this offseason by adding my favorite commercial actor and aspirational lifestyle guru, Hyunjin Ryu, to the rotation. We talked a ton about Ryu last season and never mentioned his personal interpreter, Brian Lee, who was so dedicated to the cause that he won't even get his haircut if Ryu is pitching well, bros before flows, and who told the New York Times that his dating life has suffered because he spends all of his free time eating home cooking and watching reality TV singing contests with Ryu, which is extremely relatable content in that I, too, would sacrifice my entire social schedule for the chance to do that. All my other friends, I'm hanging out with Ryu. Root for the Blue Jays, who I am loath to admit would actually be well within their rights to reference their stateside sublet as well as their existing aviary logo and go by the Wild Wings this year. I do not like Buffalo Wild Wings because chicken wings are a farce. They are a coup by Big Chicken to get you to overpay for bristle and bone.
Agreed. Not even real buffalo.
Not a fan of chicken wings. Speaking of.
Fanless curtain calls.
I'm surprised we haven't gotten more playful interactions with the idea that there are no fans. We talked about how great it is when the players themselves sit in the stands. The guys on the field should sort of like play into that more. They should like treat, like they should go over and like offer to do autographs. Curtain call baseline for trying to sort of like pantomime around the idea of what you would do if there were fans in the stands. I want to see even more miming.
Johnny Cueto's shimmy.
The one where he like almost fell over and then threw a pitch. I guess it would be a balk if he had like put his foot back down. It's incredible. He managed to go from like a unstable yoga position to throwing a strike. It was on purpose, and then it was not, and then it was on purpose again. It was a real journey. This was amazing. I'm a huge fan of this. If he can do that, he should do that all the time, because I imagine it's deeply unsettling to the batter in the box. What a f***ing embarrassing way to get it out.
Kick save, double play.
There's not an option to not be a fan of this.
From a young age.
Oh man, that was set up for a double play. Franco throws offline. Good stop.
That's not a double play.
The ball didn't hit the ground.
Only hit his foot, and then somebody else caught it, so it never hit the ground. So he has to get back to first base.
Actually, I'm not a fan of this. You should get however many outs you were trying to get. You're only trying to get one out. You don't get 2 outs.
You don't think he was trying by sticking his foot in front of a ball?
I don't think it felt good, but it was still an accident. The maximum number of outs you can get on a play should be however many outs you were trying to get on the play.
7-inning doubleheaders.
I don't hate this as much as everybody else does. In a vacuum, not a fan. Comparative, relative to the reaction everybody else has been having. Fan? Because it's fine? I don't know. This doesn't bother me nearly as much as the runner on second rule. I don't think that they're going to do this next year. Everything else feels a little bit like a slippery slope. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. This season is a farce anyway.
TikTok.
I understand the appeal of the TikTok videos themselves. Sometimes I will watch a TikTok video and I will think this video is very funny. I am glad that the video itself exists. I do not fundamentally understand why we need new platforms for this. Why do new social media platforms spring up? And
It's because of the youth.
how do they gain traction?
Blame the children.
You don't need a TikTok. Not a fan.
That's the right take.
Nobody getting haircuts.
Baseball players have not been getting a haircut, and this looks better on some players than it does on others. Bubba Chet looks great. Bryce Harper looks surprisingly good. Bryce Harper's hair is so long that he undermines my long-standing feminist take that female superheroes would put their hair up in a ponytail. Female superheroes are always wearing like tight clothes and then they have like long flowing locks, and I'm always like, I don't think so. That's some male gazy shit. She would put it up in a bun, or she would put it in a braid. She would do something to get it out of the way. And Bryce Harper's like, he's not putting his hair up. He's just out here playing with it flowing down his back. He looks like a female superhero, and for that I resent him. Not a fan. Okay, humble proposal. It's officially undeniable that a bubble is the safest way to play sports this year. The COVID rates reported by the different leagues with their different strategies are clear and compelling. But then again, so are the different circumstances. Baseball is a behemoth that had an entire season left to play when the pandemic suspended all activities back in March. Asking 30 teams to isolate for months on end was deemed untenable, which makes a certain amount of sense. But what about 16 teams for a month-long tournament? The postseason should absolutely be played in a secure bubble. Put it in the Rangers' new stadium with the retractable roof, or put it in New York City, which has 2 parks and a better handle on coronavirus. Even if you can overlook the health ramifications, which you shouldn't, we've already seen how positive tests can wreak havoc on the competitive integrity of a series or a season. Juan Soto missed the Nationals' first 7 games while quarantining over what was suspected to be a false positive. And when more than one player tests positive, whole teams are sidelined, along with their opponents. There's a whole lot to unpack about how troubling these disruptions are, but in terms of playing an efficient postseason schedule, they're completely prohibitive. If MLB isn't already planning an October bubble, seriously, how else are they going to even attempt to crown a champion fairly? Now is the time to start. The Blue Jays have not been playing because even if your team does everything correctly and also you luck out and nobody gets sick, you can still have your entire season upended by a positive test on some other team by force of schedule. And so we have not gotten to see them play in a while, which is why this episode did not feature that many very recent clips. They will be playing tonight, hopefully. keep your fingers crossed. And hopefully we didn't curse them by featuring them in this episode like we did Cespedes and Shohei Ohtani. Apologies to them.